Good morning. It is 8:16 a.m. I believe it's January 11th. It's Sunday morning. I woke up about an hour ago and I'm just getting my day started. And I wanted to talk about something. Now, I did make a video yesterday, but apparently my microphone on my small little laptop was not working. So I'm going to have to redo it and kind of, pick up where I left off of some of my concerns. And my biggest concern was, of course, I got eviction notice papers, and I had, I'm coming to understand that I was trying to be set up for bullying. Now, the message that I've been getting is that, and I'm hoping that my soul tribe is listening to me, because I need you to understand what's going on in this community. I made this channel as a result of me dealing with workplace bullying that has been going on since 2012. 2012. Well, actually longer than that. But, I mean, it got in the street after leaving Murray Family Farms, which was actually 2013, okay? So what I'm dealing with right now is, I don't know much about my son's employer. I really don't, okay? I would say in the last 3 years, I've made it a point for me to be completely detached from anything related to work. Okay, that means that, of course I want my son to have a job, but, I understand that I'm dealing with gang stalking. I understand I'm dealing with human trafficking. And that means that people, hang on a second, people that I come in contact with, generally are a part of the extended network of mind control, initiated by the original perpetrators, which would be like the kids of 533 and then Bruce Collins' family. But see, I understand now that this particular group has, become a big monster of its own. A lot of this has to do with the involvement of the LDS Church. So what I wanted to talk about is that, I know that in November, okay, this is when this whole thing started. I had mentioned, and I put this in my newsletter, that I had dealt with some fraudulent activity that was going on in my bank account, which I put this in my newsletter because I wanted people to understand that I'm not just referencing stupid things that people say that they shouldn't be saying in the workplace, or, reporting of people who may have harassed me or disrespected me in like an encounter that may have happened in the store or something. Okay, what I wanted to show is that somebody issued me a check under fraudulent fraudulent intent. Okay, and this was important that I capture the check, as well as, the people who wrote the check and so on. Okay, I needed proof that this was actually happening. Okay, so this happened in the month of November. During the same time, okay, our rent became due, obviously, right? And I'm usually the one who, because they put me out of work, and then they foolishly orchestrated this network, okay, and then used my son, right, to try to prevent me from they wanted my son to monitor me, as well as my son usually was, giving me money to pay my bills, okay? So they tried to change things up in the month of November. This is what I'm coming to understand. They had no right to do so because my son owes me money, and we are a family. We meant to take care of each other. Okay, so what happened in November is that, I routinely asked my son for the bank card, right, to pay the bills. And then he seemed like he was being reluctant. The minute he was reluctant, I immediately started to become suspicious. And the reason why I became suspicious is because anything and everything that is abnormal in your life as a targeted individual is always, I'm going to say always, a result of a targeting network, okay? So my question was, why in the world would they be withholding my why in the world is Houston doing this? Because he's always been good about this. Okay, and so I, just quickly got these intuitive messages about Bruce's family, the kids of 533, people being in some sort of competition. See, this is what I'm saying about people who work outside the law. They do all kinds of stuff. Number one, having competitions against each other in the context of work is usually referred to as horseplay, okay, or hazing in company handbooks. And it's highly discouraged because it's always illegal activity. So what these people did was they got themselves involved in an illegal activity. Whatever that is, it was all their fault. This is what they chose to do. Okay, and I do believe that they were maybe in need of money or whatever. This could be the reason why they were floating checks. They may have also, I suspect that they may have, taken money from my son. Maybe I believe that my son's boss, I don't know who my son's boss is. I don't know if my son's boss is a girl or a guy. Okay, but I do believe that he misappropriated my son's funds. Okay, which caused us to default in the payment. So I told my son that I was going to make the payment. My son reassured me that he was going to handle it. So in the month of November, I was under the impression that our rent was paid because my son said he was going to handle it. And I was actually surprised because, okay, my son usually does not handle things on the financial nature of his own. So I was like, okay, good, right? So then December rolls around and I get this notification saying that we are behind 2 months worth of rent. Okay. Same thing going on. Okay. So I asked my son assured me that he had some sort of agreement with the landlord. Okay. I'm not comfortable with this at all. Like, I feel like I'm out of the loop. And I do understand that because my son, right, originally must have known. Okay. I get the intuitive feeling that my son must have known about Bruce Collins as well as the kids of 533 interacting with my life and doing the things that they were doing in the beginning. Okay, so I do believe that my son was somewhat aware of the kids, the 533 kids' involvement as well as Bruce Collins' involvement. I do believe that maybe Houston was being encouraged to be quiet by his boss, okay, which his boss should not have done, okay. So now we ended up getting served papers on the 2nd of January, okay? And so I went down to the courthouse, okay? My son had made some payments, and I went down to the courthouse. I think it was, Friday. Friday, I went to the courthouse. And unfortunately, Friday, they closed early. So I'm going back tomorrow to take care of this issue. I did encounter a girl who I felt right from the very beginning was lying, somebody I could not trust. I did not think that she was a person that I felt comfortable with. And the thing is that I was in shock. Okay, when I went to talk to her, I was already in shock by the fact that I even have to take my time, okay, to go down there, as well as my money, which I'm running low on money because of them putting me out of work. I'm spending my time and my money to resolve this issue. And I was in shock. So I asked her, explain to me, because she's supposed to be the person that explains the process. She was explaining the process, but what was going on in my mind was, I can't believe this is going on. I am shocked. I was shocked. So I kept thinking, maybe I need to have her tell me something again because I had another question for her. And then my mind was going blank because what I was thinking was, this should not be happening. This should not be happening. Now, what I did notice about this girl was she had a sarcastic look on her face. Okay, I did not like her at all. And the reason why she had a sarcastic look on her face is because she's a part of the network. Okay, and I will tell you, I'm letting my network, my soul tribe know, is that I don't feel comfortable anymore at all. Okay, and what's going on in this community is very toxic, and I do blame my son's boss. Okay, now my son's boss was withholding payment. Number one, I've expressed this before. I have to go there tomorrow, and I'm not comfortable doing it. Okay, and I feel as though this is my son's boss's fault. You know what I mean? It's all his fault as far as I'm concerned, and he placed us in a financial hardship. Okay, I don't particularly like dealing with this situation, and I do understand that my son's boss is possibly Mormon. Okay, we are not Mormon. Okay, but what I wanted to say is my son had a check. He got paid, I think, on the 2nd. Okay, and he went out of the house for a while. His check was sitting in the living room. Okay, I am not a nosy person, but I looked at his check, right? And the reason why I looked at his check because I'm concerned about how my son gets paid. I'm really concerned about how it gets paid, right? So I looked at the year-to-date pay information on his check, and it was the exact same amount on his paycheck, which it looks as though that was his first actual check that he got. Okay, so I'm assuming that his boss must have paid him in cash. Okay, and that bothers me for many reasons because, when you're paid that way, you don't get to pay it into Social Security, right? And you're not paying into your regular, and I know I've been put in situations with this trafficking network to where I was working at a company in Buttonwillow where they were paying me similar, okay? and this messes you up with your taxes, okay, it's not a good way of getting paid. So I wasn't happy about it, but I kept thinking, okay, at least my son got paid, right? So now at this point, I am not comfortable with this situation, okay? And the reason why I'm making this video is because the reason why my son's boss, I'm getting some intuitive message, why he was withholding my payment is because he knows that I'm somebody who basically struggles on my own. And he just thinks that I'm different. And because I'm different, he wants to attack me for no other reason. That is not a legal reason. That is not a legitimate reason. So I'm not comfortable in this situation. I'm not comfortable at all. Because, you know, I'm somebody who's dealing with abuse for no reason. I did talk to my son, and my son, you know, he doesn't like to go into it because I know he really can't go into it. But at the same time, it's like, you know, I pray that my son will one day find a reputable employer. Why? Because my son is 30-something years old, and he should be paying regularly into his retirement. He should be paying into Social Security. He should be paying into all of those things, okay? And then when it comes to his boss, like I said, I don't know if this happened in November. It started in November. So my concern is if Houston, if this happened in November, could it be that maybe this was his old boss and maybe this new check that he got is being paid by his new boss? I don't know. Okay, I really don't know. I honestly do not like thinking about what goes on in the outside world, because everyone that I know, including my son's, you know, his associates or whatever, I'm not comfortable with, nor do I trust, nor will I ever trust, okay? Because at this point, they went way too far. The intuitive message I'm getting right now, it is well known and accepted that I reject religion. I'm glad, okay? My biggest concern is that my son's boss, he is putting us in situations, this is your fault. This is your fault, okay? And the message I'm getting right now is that this person regards me as somebody who is smart but lives a unique lifestyle. That is not any reason to hurt me. Okay, and the reason why I live my lifestyle is because I feel like I need to protect myself. I'm constantly dealing with this nonsense, okay? And so I try to live a very quiet life to protect myself from the, you know, the abuses of this community, and you had no right to do what you did. None at all, okay? Like, I'm not Mormon. My son's not Mormon. We're not Mormon, okay? But you try to make us uphold standards as if we are. You know what I mean? And but vaguely remember the girl that I encountered on Friday. Yes, she was wearing makeup. Okay, so why is it okay for her? Leave me alone. Okay, just leave me alone. You have done enough. You've done enough. Okay, I'm not happy, you know, being in this situation with, you know, people manipulating my employment, trying to force, you know, Mormon, you know, I am going to tell you right now, I am not comfortable with Mormons at all. Okay, based on what happened to my father, based on the things that happened to me here in this community, I am not comfortable with Mormons at all. Okay, so, you know, I want to make that very clear. When it comes to my soul tribe, yes, I'm dealing with financial exploitation here in this community. My son's boss is responsible for financially exploiting me, as well as my son, and we're being victims of abuse. We are victims of abuse. When it comes to Vladimir Putin, you know, I want to make this very clear, okay? Yes, I want Vladimir Putin to be a part of my life. Why? Because, you know, he was part of my past life, and I do want him to be happy, okay? But I don't need people orchestrating our friendship. I don't need people, you know, telling me how to live. I don't need people causing me problems. You know what I mean? As far as my son's boss is concerned, you need to fix this issue. Okay, I honestly am disgusted by everything that you did, and yes, I know it's your fault. Okay, and you had no right to sit here and take sides, and no right to sit here and like try to assume that we're Mormon. I'm absolutely disgusted. I don't respect that religion at all. Okay, other than the fact that I know that it exists. Okay, I would like to move on from this issue and move LDS Church as well as Mormons altogether from my vocabulary. I don't want anything to do with it, okay? This morning, I'm upset because my son's working another day, right? and I want to make sure that he's going to get paid correctly based on the payroll laws, okay? Because, you know, if he's working 7 days a row, you need to understand that there's certain legalities to that, okay? My message is that, you know, I hope that you understand. I'm not trying to create an argument. I'm just trying to move on. And I would say that you cause too many problems. You know what I mean? I don't like dealing with people like you because you don't understand laws. You tend to, you know, follow guidelines that may be something that you guys did maybe 200 years ago within your Mormon faith, but, you know, and inflicting it on me is a nightmare. I don't want anything to do with your religion at all, okay? I'm proud of who I am. I would never be ashamed of who I am. I love who I am. You know what I mean? I love everything about C.B. Braganza. You know, he was a remarkable person. And no matter what anybody says or how they act, they know it too. They know it too. This is one of the reasons why. And see, what the Mormon Church didn't understand is by using, you know, the guideline of people's bloodlines, especially in employment situations, you're basically judging people on their ancestry, and you're practicing racism out in the open is what you're doing. Okay. Yes, people do recognize that I do live a different lifestyle. Some people have to. Okay, some people have to live different lifestyles, and I live them. I live that lifestyle, meaning, like, you know, I make a point not to sit here and communicate with people any more than I have to. Okay, you have made this entire community toxic, okay, for no reason. Okay, and yes, I'm somebody who talks about it because I'm disturbed by it. You know what I mean? I'm somebody who would never do something like this to another person. You know what I mean? And then you put my son in a financial hardship. You know what I mean? And my son needs to understand he cannot trust you. The message I'm getting right now is something about Vladimir Putin is thinking about me at this moment. I want to know what he's thinking about. He knows that I possess the power and authority of heaven and earth, and he looks at me as somebody who is enlightened, strong, and full of knowledge. Thank you. I would like to find a job as soon as possible. You know what I mean? I'm not, you know, I would never want to put my son in a situation where I'm relying on him. They have basically pushed me in a situation of financial destitution. And I'm going to say that this is a part of, yes, this is what they did. Okay, my son's boss included. He had no right to do that. None. Now, the message I'm getting right now is something about the British flag, and it indicates that I am having professional support. Maybe this is coming from England. Maybe somebody from England is supporting me. I want to say thank you. You know what I mean? Right now, I am in dealing with me having to struggle with this issue. I don't want to have to go to the court tomorrow. I don't want to have to interact with anyone. Okay, I really don't want to have to interact with anyone. I can't stand that stupid look on people's face. I can't stand the lying. I just look at them as liars and people that I cannot trust. Okay, and all because of this bullshit. You know, I'm tired of it. You know what I mean? So, if you could, you know, clear up the air, I'm tired of dealing with it. And I wish my son was the one who was handling it at the court system because, like I said, I feel like I'm being dragged into something that I didn't ask to be dragged into. You know what I mean? Just because somebody lives their life differently, there's obviously reasons why they do, and it's not your responsibility to create problems. And yeah, I am going to be upset. I am upset at my son's boss because you obviously come off as somebody who doesn't know how to run a business. You know what I mean? I do believe this is the 7th day my son's going into work. He should be compensated accordingly, based on payroll laws, okay? And yes, there are laws about working 7 straight days a row and how they're supposed to get paid. You know what I mean? So anyway, yeah, I'm really, like, not happy in this situation. I'm not happy with my experience with the LDS Church. I'm not happy with people trying to decide for me how I'm supposed to live my life. I resent you. Okay, the message I'm getting right now is that people do recognize that I do have knowledge when it comes to payroll. I mean, laws in general, okay? I do have a good reputation. I have a good reputation. People in this community know that I am a good person. Like, I don't sit here and create problems for anybody. I'm a law-abiding person. And yet I sit here and suffer at the hands of these stupid Mormons. And yes, I'm going to say it. Okay, I'm tired of dealing with your crap. I hate it. Okay, I hate it. And you know what? My son will never say it, but I know he hates it too. You have affected our life so much. You have really caused nothing but problems. And no, I do not believe Mormons enlighten people's lives at all. What they do is they destroy it. I hate Mormons. Period. Okay, and it's not because I'm being unfair. Okay, it's not like, because you know, sometimes people do things, right? People hate other people for unfair reasons. Kind of like how people hate me for unfair reasons, right? Because somebody told them to, right? I'm not doing this because I'm being unjust. I'm not doing this because I feel like, oh, Mormons should just be picked on. I'm doing this because Mormons destroy things, you know, for no reason. Okay, and this is why. And I'm upset because now I have to deal with going back to the courthouse tomorrow, wasting my time, wasting my money, okay, which you purposely deplete, right, to make me go around talking to people that I personally will never trust in a million years. Okay, I will never trust anybody in this community because of your toxicity. Okay, you, yeah, my son's boss, and the rest of the Mormon church. Something about the British flag, something about the British flag, British people assisting me, I guess, something about me. Maybe it could be the royal family. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. It could very well be. Could be. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know anybody specifically who lives in England. Yes, I do know people like Justin Hayward that I've talked to them before, and it could be my soul tribe, parts of them. I don't know. But whatever the case is, you know, I'm very unhappy with the situation. Okay, I want the best for my son. I want to make sure that my son lives a good life, and I don't know if he could live a good life when he's working for people like you, right? I mean, I'm not happy with this situation at all. I'm disturbed that you would do something like this. Okay, people recognize me as a successful person. I'm glad that my son is protected. Glorious. People look at see that I should be in a leadership role. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I, you know, maybe play a role in politics, but when it comes to work, I really don't want to have to deal with too much. You know what I mean? It's like I really do not like the environment that has been created because of these unprofessional people. I've dealt with the unprofessional people and their unprofessional tactics. For example, you know, my son's boss, he had no right to do any of this. Okay, at all. And see, he thinks that I'm being unusual or that I'm I have a unique lifestyle. I'm proud of my lifestyle. I'm proud of it. Okay, I am proud of how I live my life. Okay, and it's my choice. I choose to live this way. Okay, and if there was no other way for me to live my life. Okay, based on, you know, who C.B. Berganza was, my past life experiences, my experiences as Maria Gordon. I don't have anyone that I can trust. Okay, so yes, I'm going to live this life. Okay, and you know what? It's a good way of living life. I don't want to have any interaction with you. Okay, so just respect my space. Okay, what you did was you caused damage, and it's your fault. This is all your fault. Your fault, 100% your fault. Take accountability for it. Just like, you know, the people who wanted to get wild and crazy, right, and create this competition, the issue with the bank check and all this other stuff. They should have known employment law. It was their fault to sit here and create this competition. Yes, people have the right to wear where they want to wear. They have the right to live there how they want to live. They have the right to be single, married, whatever. They took it upon themselves to create this harassment campaign, and they ended up paying the price for it. And I'm not responsible for it. You know why? Because I'm somebody who knows employment law. These people just wanted to goof off, okay? So everything that these people dealt with is their own fault. All of it. Okay, I will never take any responsibility for any of it. It is 100% their fault. Hang on.